Is Tyler Shough the Saints' future realistic hopes for New Orleans after the bye week? Ladies and gentlemen, this is Hunt. Okay, so the reason we're doing this video, y'all know why. Because last week we did a video. The Hunt Palmer Show was talking about the travesty that is the New Orleans Saints and how it's not fair for the fans to go through this, and that Gale should sell the team and that Mickey Loomis should step down, and it was an impassioned plea. And I just want to give a snapshot of what I assume is going to be a very different tone in this video. Okay? So we're going to watch it, react along the way, do what we can do. It's early morning on a Thursday. Again, up with the sun to make sure y'all have content. Does anybody do it better?
Start the hour with some Saints discussion. They finally made it to the bye week. This is something that we were looking at really all of the offseason, summer into training camp as a potential line of delineation between the beginning of the season, where you're really trying to figure out just like what you got. We don't know what we got at quarterback. We don't know what we got at head coach. We don't know what we got in terms of all these rookies. You really do, I mean, what do we got? We don't know. And you got a tough start that involves some really difficult road games. You knew it was going to be tough to go on the road to Seattle. Knew it was going to be tough to go on the road to Buffalo. Now it's a chance to reset. We had pointed really to this week as the week for Tyler Shough potentially to take over.
Doesn't it feel like the Buccaneers game or the Bears game or pick a game was like 10 years ago? I mean, here's how I look at it. And this sounds crazy. To me, the Saints are 1-0. And I'm not saying like, as far as like playoffs and stuff like that, but just they're 1-0 because so much has changed in the last couple of weeks. Not only Tyler Shough being the starting quarterback, but the Rashid Shaheed trade, the Trevor Penning trade. I mean, the team feels different, looks different, operates different. The fans are talking different. The attitude is different. The vibe is different. We're 1-0 going into the bye week with Atlanta on the other side of it. And I've said this a million times. It is such a bad spot for Atlanta. They play in Berlin. They lose an overtime game to the Colts where they get ran all over. And in football, running plays are much more physically intensive defensively than passing plays. It's a lot more hitting. It's a lot more, there's more plays on average. And to have Jonathan Taylor do that to you, you feel it. Okay, I can guarantee you that. Then they come back from Germany, no bye week, go straight into a divisional game against Carolina. We'll see how that goes. Then, no bye week. They go to the Superdome to take on the Saints, who are coming off of a bye week. Okay? Like, horrible scheduling spot for Atlanta. Great scheduling spot for the Saints.
Depending on how the early portion of the season went. And now we're here. And the win-loss record's terrible.
Question. Honest question. Right now, Thursday morning, November 13th. Honest question. Do you care about the win-loss record right now? Is it even factoring into how you look at this team? I can honestly say the only thing the record has to do with me and like how I view the team or how I view what's going on is the draft pick. But beyond that, could care less. We knew it was going to be a bad year as far as like, playoff opportunity and winning the division or whatever. Once we got to that critical mass point where, all right, we're not catching lightning in a bottle, we're not going to have some surprise season, it is going to be bad. Once we got to that point, then you're just looking at performances. Then you're just looking at the 4 quarters in the game. Okay? You're looking at how are we playing in this game? What's our performance in this game? What steps are we taking forward? And for a while there, we were taking steps backwards. Like the Chicago game and the Bucs game. And those are frustrating because when you're not looking at the record and you're just looking at the performance and the performance is taking a step back, you got a lot of questions to ask, for sure. But yeah, I could care less about the overall record.
The quarterback change has been made. Some of the returns on the young players have been positive. Some of them have been negative. And you've made a couple of significant trades in terms of your current roster. You traded away a starter on the offensive line and your most explosive pass catcher. So the circumstances are different now than they were in August. That's fair to say.
Yes.
But you look at the second half of the schedule, and it's extremely manageable. You can manage games against the Titans and Jets and Panthers. You've got home games that you feel like you should have a chance to compete in, even if they're against teams that have a better record than you. So you've reached a point now where we can kind of reset expectation based on what we know. Tough to set expectations for this team August the 3rd. I don't know who the quarterback is. I don't know what the coach does. I don't know how well the defense is going to take, especially with all those veterans too. Brandon Staley, I don't know what their injury status is going to be. There's so many variables. You know it's not going to be great, but like, what can you really pinpoint? Well, now we've got more to look at. And of course, that discussion is going to start with Tyler Shough, and I'm willing to have that discussion now. Like, what are you looking for? Well, first, let's look back at what we saw in his start. I watched it every snap, and I liked what I saw. I thought he was efficient, thought he was effective, thought he took some shots down the field, thought that he moved the offense. Am I going to go nuts and throw an absolute jubilation of a party because they scored 17 points? No.
You don't have to. That's important as well. We don't have to go one way or the other. We can just chill. And if you have been watching this channel, you've heard me say, sometimes the best thing to do is nothing. Sometimes the best thing to do is just sit back and observe and see what's going on. Whether it's with Kellen Moore, whether it's with Brandon Staley, whether it's with Spencer Rattler, whether it's with Tyler Shough, whether it's with Kendra Miller, whether it's with Devin Neal or Chris Olave or whoever. You don't have to make a decision every single week. You don't have to either build the statue or tear down the statue. You don't have to buy the jersey, sell the jersey. You don't have to do any of that stuff. Right? And that is confusing, I think, because we live in such a knee-jerk reaction world, such a hot take world. After week 1, after week 2, after week 3, we were already hearing, well, is Kellen Moore this? I don't know. I got reservations about Kellen Moore. I don't know if he can do this. I think he's in over his head. I don't know. I say, guys, you got to give it more than 90 plays. We got to see a little bit more. And the 17 points thing, no offense, to me, that is a red flag. If you hear someone say, well, the Saints offense wasn't great, they only scored 17 points. I mean, maybe I need to print out like a football 101 masterclass that I can just hand out to people to explain that it's not 1995 and you don't just sort by points and say, okay, that's good or that's bad. YPP, Saints were around 6 in that game. They ended up like a 2.5 yards per play, maybe even 3 yards per play difference in Carolina. The last drive of the game was a 14-play, 7 minutes and 40-second drive to end the game that resulted in 0 points and 0 for 1 in the red zone. That was the best drive of the day, by far, and it didn't have a single point. Saints were playing with the lead all day. Saints completely ended the game in the second half. They didn't have to push. They didn't have to score at the end. They chose to kneel it out, whatever. The 17 points thing, they were 0 for 2 in the red zone. The 17 points thing, that is the ultimate telling on yourself. If you're using that as, well, the offense wasn't as good as you thought. That is why we look at YPP. That is why we look at success rate. That is why we look at EPA. Because those, if we're trying to really analyze the performance, those matter. If you're trying to analyze just the final score, the points matter.
But the passing chart I very much enjoyed. Here's why. I've got it pulled up for Pro Football Focus, and I'll talk you through it. He only threw 2 passes behind the line of scrimmage. Only 2. One outside the numbers, got blown up for a loss of 2, and one inside the numbers that went for 26 yards. But if you remember, with Spencer Rattler early in the season, it was just too much. Too much dink and dunk, dink and dunk, dink and dunk. That's all you saw. Take a shot. It just wasn't happening early. Well, Tyler Shough wasn't just dinking and dunking. He only threw the ball inside behind the line of scrimmage twice. Now you look at the next set of passes, which is under 10 yards, between the line of scrimmage and 10 yards. These are your quick passes, your quick game, your screens just beyond the line of scrimmage, your quick outs, your short yardage throws. And he was very efficient with those. 0 to 10, he was 11 of 14 in the game. And got the ball out quickly where it needed to go. But it wasn't all that he did. Because if you look beyond 10 yards, he was 4 of 5 between 10 and 20 yards, one of the touchdowns to Juwan Johnson. And then if you go between 10 yards and further, so longer than 10 yards, he really was effective. He was 6 out of, let me make sure my math's right, 6 out of that's 7, 6 out of 10, and had a pair of touchdowns, including the deep ball to Olave for 62 yards. If you look at throws beyond 20 yards down the field, he hit a pair of those, and they combined for 104 yards. So he didn't just dink and dunk like you saw from Rattler. He did stretch the field. He did hit big plays. He was fairly effective at all levels of the field. So that's a tiny sample size. Tiny in one game against Carolina. But it's encouraging, and it's a difference from Spencer Rattler. So to me, as I look at Shough, I want to see him continue to hit all levels of the field, hit big plays, and be efficient when you are checking it down.
Well, this is also like an offense thing. Like you want to see the offense grow as Shough grows, right? So you want to see the offense continue to be explosive. You want to see the more like Alvin had a screen all of a sudden, like more of that. Now you want to see some of these wrinkles, right? You want to see some of run the ball. You want to see maybe even some read option or RPO or whatever. You want to see some screens. You want to see taking shots downfield. You want to see the intermediate. Like, all right, now let's see Kellen kind of get into his bag. And this isn't all a product of Tyler Shough, or this isn't all revolved around Tyler Shough. Kellen is also a rookie head coach. And hopefully he progresses as the year goes on, and his play calling and all of that, and the rhythm and just getting into a tempo and all that stuff progresses. So hopefully some of that play calling gets better as well and just continues to be good. And we'll, the same things we look at all the time. Can they start fast? What are they doing in the first quarter? What are they doing with their first possession? Things like that. How are they handling end of half, end of game? Those are the things that hopefully keep taking steps.
And to me, you're going 13 of 16 total under 10 yards, and you're hitting 2 big plays down the field. I like that rhythm. I like that chart. I like all those things when it comes to running the offense. So I like that from Shough. I want to see a little bit more of that in the second half of the season. The other guy I wanted to profile today in terms of looking towards the second half of the season is Kelvin Banks. Kelvin Banks has played 641 snaps at left tackle for you to this point. If you just look at his Pro Football Focus grades, respectable. 68.3 overall in blocking, 67 overall in run blocking, 68.9 in pass blocking. One thing that stands out there, it's all balanced. It's all pretty good. I know we've got a portion listening to this that really only does Saints, got a portion listening to this that listens to the whole show, terrestrial radio, does LSU and Saints. The Pro Football Focus grades, when we talk about LSU and talk about the Saints, are very different. College kids have higher grades. They're playing against lesser competition at times. You see a lot of 70s and 80s and even into the low 90s at times. That's very, very, very rare in the NFL. You live in the upper 60s, low 70s, high 70s, up to 80. That's quality work. And Kelvin Banks has given you that in the run game and the passing game. There's one area I would really like to see Kelvin Banks clean up. He has been flagged 7 times. It's not even once a game. I need that number to come down. And I think that's realistic when you consider that he's gaining experience and he's now seen more than he did early in the season.
I feel like a lot of Kelvin's penalties, I have to go back and look, obviously, but I feel like a lot of them are false starts, things like that, which for a rookie, new system, I would assume Kellen's system is relatively complicated. It makes sense, right? That all is fine. And I think that will clean up. If it was all holding, if it's all stuff like that where he's having trouble technique-wise, and he's just constantly being flagged for whatever, hands in the face or holding, or then you're like, okay, this is more of a technique issue. But yeah, I mean, look, it's not sexy, it's left tackle, but the fact that the 9th overall pick, rookie left tackle, is playing really well, and we're not really talking about him that much, is a good thing. I mean, having him on the left, Fuaga on the right. I know Fuaga's been banged up and down this year, but when Fuaga is healthy, I think none of us are concerned about Fuaga. I think at the baseline, he's a good player. Will he be a Hall of Famer? I don't know. Will Kelvin Banks? I don't know. But having a rookie left tackle, second-year right tackle, rookie quarterback, rookie head coach.
Sometimes you're getting holding calls. Sometimes it's a false start. You got a guy across from you that's a really good pass rusher. You're trying to get a head start. Like, I get it. That's too many penalties. I like the blocking grades. When that ball snapped and you're asked to do a job, I like what he's doing to this point. Penalties need to come down a little bit for Kelvin Banks, and that's something I'm looking at. And as far as defense goes, there are a couple of young players who I think have really impressed to this point that you.
Yeah. Isaiah Stallbird, Danny Stutzman, Quincy Riley, Jonas Sanker. What do all of them have in common, ladies and gentlemen? This is an easy question. They're all rookies. So in this video, now remember, the front office is a travesty, and Gail Benson should sell the team to Todd Graves, and Mickey Loomis can't draft without Sean Payton. Remember, in this video, we're talking about those 4 rookies. We're talking about Kelvin Banks. We're talking about Tyler Shough, and we're talking about Kellen Moore. 7 rookies. 7. Okay? And that's not even talking about Devin Neal, who looked fine. 7 rookies. That is crazy. Like, 7 rookies between coach and players that are making a legitimate impact on this team. And it wasn't too long ago. It was actually 7 days ago that we were being force-fed that this is a disaster. This is a travesty. More Caniacs in the Superdome. This team can't put together anything. This team can't draft. This front office doesn't know what they're doing. This scouting department doesn't know what's going on. This is making me sick to my stomach. A week later, well, actually, 7 rookies. Well, wow, this is actually, maybe, I don't know, maybe there's something here. Well, hold on a second.
Want to see more of. I love Danny Stutzman and the way he has played the run. It's something I've noticed on tape. Well, not on when I'm watching the games, and it's something that Pro Football Focus agrees with. 76.1 in terms of his run defense. Tackling's got to improve a little bit. It's only
Who could have seen this coming? Oh, I know, me. Why? Because he had a 90 run defense grade in college. He was an elite run stopper at Oklahoma.
47 grade, and I think he's going to get more snaps. You've only seen 63 total snaps in 6 games from Stutzman. I think that number might double in the second half of the season. It would not surprise me to see Stutzman finish with somewhere in the neighborhood of 180 snaps this year. I'm looking at that linebacker spot. I'm looking at an aging Demario Davis, who, by the way, played brilliant football in Carolina and still has something in the tank and should be out there to show young players how you're supposed to play down in and down out and to help this team to try to win games. But I think you're going to...
Don't get this twisted either. Everyone wants to trade everybody and cut everybody and release everybody. But imagine if we draft Arvell Reese. And imagine if you've got Demario Davis, like Master freaking Splinter, okay, with the Ninja Turtles, and he is mentoring Stallbird, Stutzman, Werner, and Arvell Reese. I mean, come on.
See Stutzman more. And I love the way he's played against the run. And then I just need more consistency from Jonas Sanker on the defensive side. Like, some of the grades are good week to week. Some of the playmaking has been good. He's been around the football for some turnovers. Also, his tackling grade at this point is 29.5.
Yeah, he's had some real whiffs.
That's got to improve. You can't miss that many tackles. He's at a missed tackle percentage right now of 18%, and they're crediting him to this point with 10 missed tackles. That's second on the team to Demario Davis, who, oh, by the way, is in.
Yeah, he's in on so many tackles.
Way more often and way more reps than Jonas Sanker, so that's to be expected.
That's when you go to the percentage.
So that's
why
kind
percentages
of
are a thing.
A rudimentary checklist of what I'm looking for New Orleans. Shough, I want to see all levels, not just checkdowns, all levels be efficient. He was in this game. And then I want to see Banks limit those penalties, continue to play at the level he is outside of the penalties. And then defensively, more from Stutzman in terms of reps and tackling, better tackling from Sanker. I'm cutting these things down into little bitty sample sizes. Like, I'm cutting these things down into small things you're looking for. I don't think it's realistic to look at this and go, well, I look at the Saints in the second half and go, I think they should win 5 games.
Yeah, who cares? Yeah, that's it. But that's the same. It's the same thing as the first half. You cannot go into this with the evaluation of we got to win every game, and we got to win 10 games, or we got to win 11 games, or 12 games, or win the division, or whatever. In a rebuild, when in an exploratory situation, and this was the most exploratory situation of all time, completely new 100% turnover from the coaching staff, new defensive scheme, new offensive scheme, rookie head coach, either a rookie quarterback or a second-year quarterback, young wide receivers, rookie left. This was as exploratory as possible. And this is how people should have been viewing this team at the beginning of the season. But if you view this just through wins and losses, and you set your expectations at we should beat this team, we should win every game at home, we should win the South, we should win whatever, you're going to be let down. 100%. And every single week we came on here and we did our grades and we talked about players and we talked about whatever. And I had people slobbering all over their keyboard saying, STFU, James, we lost. The final score is the only thing that matters. Okay. And now all of a sudden, 10 weeks later, everyone's right where we need to be. Everyone sees things clearly. All right. Now, ladies and gentlemen, well, I'll let him finish.
Easy now. Like, they got to do a lot of things to build towards that. And I'm looking at young players. Shough's the most important. Banks is probably second. Then you look at these young defensive players that are going to end up having to be the heir apparent to some guys that have played a lot of football. That's what I'm looking to see over the second half of the season for the New Orleans Saints. Not to put everything on Pro Football Focus, but it's a good tool that I have. And now the sample size is big enough with half the season in the rearview mirror, which you're looking at 10 games here. Okay, what do we got? And that's what I'm looking for in the final 7 games of the season for the Saints. Hey, it's on. Thanks for watching.
So,
meet Jim Monster.
The point here, okay, let's just relax on the Jim Monster 2. The point here, ladies and gentlemen, is do you remember in the last, 6 months, how I've said that a lot of the times people just look for a boogeyman when it comes to teams? Because if you don't want to go through what it takes to analyze and explain and look into the context and look into the details, it's way easier to just be like, fire this person, trade this person, release this person, cut this person, sell the team. It's way easier to do that. And finding the boogeyman, which is almost always Mickey Loomis and Gail Benson, is just a shortcut, and you're not really doing the due diligence to figure out like what's actually happening, what are the ins and outs, all that stuff with the team, right? And man, boy, has that come to fruition. I mean, boy, oh boy, has the boogeyman metaphor that we've used for however many weeks, like, I think everyone's seeing exactly what I've been talking about for a while now. And yeah, we're taking a victory lap for the next 2 weeks because it's my channel and I'm the best in the business doing it. And y'all avid viewers of the channel are right there with me. Y'all understand ball. Y'all understand what's going on. Nobody wants to trade Chris Olave today. Nobody wants to release Chris Olave. Okay? Ladies and gentlemen, we can now view this team and view this season the appropriate way. Question I get literally every week. James, when should we worry about Kellen Moore? My answer has been 2027. You don't even have the conversation for 2 years. Get his players in here, get going, get moving, whatever. I believe in Kellen the same right now as I did week 1. We did viewer voice messages last week. Guy asked me, how do you feel now about Kellen Moore? And I said, unchanged. Before the Carolina game, unchanged. You talk about some brass, I'm not, it's a family channel. To stare in the face of 1-8, unchanged. But that's how you got to be. That's how you got to be in these situations. We're evaluating, ladies and gentlemen. The house is being built. The studs are up. Okay? You know what my favorite stud finder is? A mirror. The studs are up. All right? When the house is being built, there are no walls, studs up. We're not even through. We're 10% of the way there. You don't walk into the living room and say, I don't really like what they've done with the place. It's not done. I don't really like to look at this carpet. It's not carpet, it's concrete. You got to wait till it's done. We got to wait till the house is finished before we can judge the house. You can't judge the house now. Take it week by week, quarter by quarter, play by play. We go into the draft. We get that draft class. We go into the offseason. We hit the ground running next year. Boom. Boom. It's a good freaking day to be a Saints fan. I'll tell you that. This is as exciting of a time to be a Saints fan as there's been in a long time. And it has nothing to do with the win. Nothing. And if you watch this channel for a while, you know I've said that for the last couple of months. Because there's something fun about the journey. There's something fun about the ups and downs and growing with new players and new coaches and new schemes. Something exciting about that. 100%. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. Remember, 20% off the store until kickoff at Atlanta or in the Atlanta game. We're a weekend. Merch is moving fast. Okay, I'll tell you that right now. We've had dozens of sales this week. The sales going on. Get your merch now. 20% off. You don't have to do anything. Add whatever you want to the cart. The whole thing is 20% off. Get your merch for the back half of the season. Rep it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.